If you need one of the school board meeting, it's Monday, February 14th, 2022, 6 o'clock, we're in the system probably likely, we're going to be 7 budgeting. Let's call them to order and Mr. Sherwin.
Mrs. Fisher?
Here.
Mr. Gayhart?
Here.
Mrs. Ingersoll?
Here.
Mr. Martell?
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Here.
Mrs. Ray?
Here.
Mr. Scarrow?
Here.
Ms. Stoltz?
Here.
Ms. Volpego?
Here.
We do have a forum, we'll continue, and I will note that tonight's meeting has been noticed for state statutes. Do we have any community participation that's not on the agenda? So we'll dispense with that and go to the Tibbetts Elementary designation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brian Frost. I'm the principal at Tibbetts Elementary, and our presentation this month involves a program that's new for us at Tibbetts. However, I think similar programs have been run. I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through, but specifically with our kindergarten and fifth graders. And it's a mentorship program that we call Lunch Buddies. And, Mr. Trent, if you wanted to click the slide, kind of the why behind the program. We have a PBIS committee that meets monthly to kind of look at our behavior and discipline data. And as you can see, September through December, we had some school referrals, and what are school referrals? A lot of times they're reteaching opportunities for us. They might be think sheets, minor infractions, and you can see those total numbers on the left-hand column. And out of those total referrals or opportunities to relearn, a good proportion a good portion of them were kindergarten referrals, which you would expect at the beginning of the school year. Kids that were learning the routines and trying to figure out what this whole system is supposed to be like. However, we weren't seeing it decrease. We were actually seeing it increase specifically in November. And out of those kindergarten referrals, a number of them were happening at recess time. Again, pretty standard and typical. But our PBIS team, started to think about how are ways that we could remedy this and help those students who are figuring it out, get better at the recess portion of the day. And I actually have to give credit to Mrs. Gruber, our fifth grade teacher, who has for years run a program out of her classroom called Give It Back Day. And she teaches the fifth graders about all the things that they've kind of gathered and garnered from Tibbetts Elementary. And they dedicate a day full of ideas where they feel opportunities for them to give back. And it was neat to see this year because of the different protocols with COVID. We haven't necessarily been able to see those older students interacting with younger students. We've been trying to keep them, in their cohort. And Pay It Back Day this year, we did allow some of that interaction, and seeing some of our fifth grade students really step up and become those role models for those younger students was interesting and enlightening, and caused us to go back to the, that PBIS committee, Mr. Truman, and talk about, can we replicate that same process to help teach what it looks like to be respectful, responsible, and safe out of the playground. So that, that required us first to identify, who do we want to, help with this process, and who would those helpers be? Just for the next slide. So from there, we kind of again looked at the data, who was struggling at recess time, and we went to our fifth grade teams. We have mainly boys, for obvious reasons sometimes, with that less structured piece. And so we're looking for some fifth grade boys that could be role models for those individuals. And lots were identified. Like I said, mentoring in the past has been attempted, and I think the biggest hurdle had been, where do we match them up? We don't want to pull these guys out of their reading class or their math class for good reason, but we don't want to have to pull them during that time. This year, our schedule just kind of went naturally that fifth grade and kindergarten have lunch recess at the same time, but they flip-flop. So as our fifth graders go out to recess, our kindergartners are coming in to eat. And then when they come in from recess, 5th grade, that is, kindergartners are headed out. So it just was a natural progression to say, I think you might have gone 2 there, Mr. Troon. You're giving away my fun. So we settled on our buddies basically meeting once a week, and our kindergartners that we identified that really could use this boost, they go out with our 5th graders for recess and then come back in and eat lunch with them. They have fun while they're outside, and really that opportunity during lunch is just a get to know you. They learn about, what's happening in their lives. They talk about, what's happening in class, and really they've become more of friends. Which again, really cool opportunity for not only our little guys that are learning, but from our big guys to be the role models. Programs hasn't been in motion very long, but our January data is trending in the right direction. We had 24 of those think sheets or opportunities to learn, 9 of which came from the kindergarten group, and only 2 were at the recess time in the entire month of January. Some things we've learned thus far, many of our 5th graders want to be lunch buddies or mentors. You guys probably get asked all the time, hey, what do you guys do? How do I get one of those little kids to come with me? And from the pictures, you probably, were able to see lots of them join in and want to, participate. Kind of those next steps that we're looking at, we identified kiddos that need a little help with, what the school routine looks like. We also have kids that are struggling with, some SEL pieces where a buddy to talk to about what they're going through at school or what they're struggling with might be beneficial. So we're looking at identifying some more students in that realm. And also our 1st and 4th grade classes match up similarly with that lunch recess time. So that ball has kind of started rolling as well in growing the program beyond K-5. So with that, I would love for you to hear a little bit about some of our mentors. And I brought Emily Schrin. She's our speech and language pathologist, part of that PBIS team, and she will introduce our mentors as well as share a few of the stories from the guys who weren't able to come. So.
Yeah, I had the fun part. You get to hear all these wonderful stories. Aiden, I think you are up first. This is Aiden Waller.
I have a brand new friend because of lunch buddies. I have been able to take my buddy Hunter to lunch and indoor and outdoor recess with him. Hunter has taught me to never give up. If something isn't fun, he can say it, and he knows he can tell people. Hunter is a really good friend of mine. I saw him in the hall and he ran up to me and gave me a hug.
Okay, Marios is up next.
My buddy Cash is becoming better at not running around and using his energy outside instead of in school. He's learning how to use his manners, saying things like thank you and no thank you. Cash likes to play games, and I teach him not to get too overconfident. Being a mentor has helped me grow too. When I'm playing sports at home, sometimes I get overconfident too. So, I can't pronounce it. Technically, thank you, Dana. Cash is helping me to be a better brother and cousin.
All right, so me, I'm kidding. Yes. Okay, I have been entertained working with my buddy Carter. I have been able to talk to him about some of those rules that many kindergarten students struggle with, like keeping his hands to himself and using his manners. I was able to learn about what is expected for our parties, and it has brought me closer to my sister, who is also in kindergarten, as we talk about what we do during the lunch and recess time. Carter has brought me joy when we get to spend time together. I look forward to Wednesdays and know that the lunchtime will be fun. I'm really proud that he looks up to me, that I can help him. Thank you very much.
And I do have permission to share the stories from the rest of the boys. So if you would go to the next slide. Caleb Sharon, said he really liked when a friend and he took turns pulling Ben, his buddy, on the sled at recess. He kept falling off and they were all laughing. He is proud that he's gotten Ben to stop running. Now Ben has to start working on not yelling at people. I love this. He said, I'm going to try to say quiet down because that's what my mom and dad always say to me. And I might tell him to act like you have a bubble in your mouth because that will help him be quieter. And nobody wants the taste of a popped bubble in your mouth, so it should work. Right? Still on inside. Next up is Grayson Rowland. We were fortunate to hear from his mom as well. So Grayson said he had so much fun the first day and he's glad that it's continuing. He really likes helping his buddies and he hopes it continues. And his mom let us know that he absolutely loves the program and that he gets a chance to participate in it. And it is definitely a highlight of his day. That's really sweet to see too. And I believe Dylan is our last one. Dylan said that at first Mason was super calm and then he got wild. But he's telling him to calm down, to stay with him, and to listen to the school rules. And so that means that Mason is getting less and less rough and is following more and more of the school rules. Dylan said because of his time mentoring, he feels better as a brother. He said he has a little brother that he needs to watch after school, and being with Mason is teaching him how to help others to follow the rules and calm down. And he really does like being a mentor. And I must admit, I eavesdropped the first day. I stayed in my office and I was listening to the boys outside because I'm right there. And Mason all of a sudden said, hey, Dylan, you're really nice. Dylan responded, well, you know how Tibbetts teaches kids to be kind? I've been here for 6 years. So it sounded like a life sentence, but it was also really just a testament to Dylan's character. He's just so great. And he just kind of reflected that on the whole Tibbetts school. Really good kids and we're super proud of them.
Wonderful.
Questions for Emily, myself, or any of the boys?
I just think it's a wonderful program. I mean, I think about my son that he was kind of the class clown, and somehow he worked himself out and was the class leader. But yeah, I think, and they do listen to other kids, and it's kind of cool to have somebody older, younger, getting together. I think it's a great idea. Love it. And I'm glad to see you guys are so enthusiastic about it as well. That's nice.
Big deal when those fifth graders walk down that kindergarten hallway.
Yeah.
They look up to you guys. I know you guys are kind of separate hallways and not always together, but it is a big deal. And from a mom of all boys, my son got a think sheet one time, came home, and I said, what'd you do? And said, I tried to play football at recess.
Yeah.
And he stacked them all his friends. And I wish he had a mentor or two to play with, because it was you guys. Thank you for doing it. Big deal.
Thank you. That was fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Great to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you. This year is a
Oh, shoot. Good evening, Mr. McBurney, Principal of Middle School on behalf of School HOSA Club. When I was at the high school, I was lucky enough to work closely with our HOSA organization over there, which is one of the many CTSOs. They're really connecting students to career pathways and career experience and digging deeper into areas of interest in the case of HOSA, future professionals and things that fall into that really honestly broad category. And when I moved to the middle school, we wanted to really create some alignment between those CTSOs. So we had a kind of a trial run during COVID 2020 of HOSA, and then a more real run last year, but we didn't have any students that really were quite confident enough to take it to the leadership conference and competition. But this year we have 4 4 females, 1 male, who are ready to go and compete at the state level and looking to maybe even go to the national level after that, which coincides with the high school's Dismals Club's competition in April. So it's a couple of overnight stays, 3 days overall, getting up to Sunday, which they're all super excited about. And yeah, so we're here to seek permission to do that and kind of broaden the horizons of some of our students who are willing to take the plunge.
We have 3 chaperones by students.
So we have 3 chaperones because
Well, I know we have the male, female.
we have the male, female, and then our advisor is Miss Kelsey Erickson, who's one of our 8th grade science teachers. She teaches our Project Lethality unit on human body systems, so she's kind of headed up our HOSA club. She is also still clinging to a career as a tennis player and has a tennis match in Arizona on the Sunday that we would depart.
Oh.
So we figured that we would make sure that we have a male and female chaperone to go with the kids. We need that on Sunday, regardless. And then if there weren't any hiccups with her travel, that would be
Okay,
Yeah.
that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But when I look at that, I went,
No, and I really wanted one of our counselors to go along too, because we do focus a lot on the social emotional aspect of school counseling at the middle school, which makes sense because it's certainly a period of ups and downs within an hour a day year, from time to time. But we're really trying to build in more of that career exploration at our level 2. Certainly not declaring any pathways, in 6th grade,
Yeah.
but being able to experience some more of that real world aspect. So I thought it was good for one of our counselors to
and
come with.
the funding is,
They have done some fundraising on their own, and then we're going to be using kind of our general school fundraiser account that we've done through mattress sales in the past and things like that to cover the cost for this first year, because we don't want anything to be an impediment to kids being able to go as they're trying to get up off the ground. And right now they're just short of about 20 kids, and that might have changed, within the course of the week too, which is a much smaller club than the high school, which is okay too. But for those kids who are just going through it the first time, we didn't want to make sure they had access to that opportunity.
This is a separate thing from the high school, or so this is all junior high?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's all under the same building when we get there, but they just have their own competitions that they go to.
Okay.
So they'll have separate judges, but like the same lodging.
So it's all at
food.
the same time?
It's all at the same time,
Got it.
yeah. So we may tag along on the bus if there's room, otherwise we'll rent it out and go that route.
it's always good to have new opportunities. You just never know. You try something and it might be something you really like, or if you try it, no, that's not for me. So it's always good to have
I
different
understand.
opportunities.
Long ago, I was going to be a physical therapist. When I left high school, things changed a little bit, but I just, opportunities like this didn't exist for me, so I went into it blind and
Yeah.
changed my mind. So,
That's all right.
Any other questions for us? As for our policies and schools on travel.
I move to approve the travel request for the middle school HOSA club as presented.
Is there a second?
Second?
So moved and seconded to approve the travel request from the middle school HOSA club as presented. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart,
yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Here. Oh, yes.
Mr. Martell,
Yes.
O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mrs. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow,
Yes.
Ms. Stoltz,
Yes.
Ms. Malpego.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, that's fun.
A lot more middle schoolers.
Yes. Have a good evening.
Happy Valentine's Day.
All right, next we have approval of our board minutes from January 24th, the regular and closed. Regular attached to your agenda, closed. Special passed up. Any questions?
You want to do them separately? Because It's, basically, all of it, closed. Right.
Any questions, comments?
I'll move to approve the minutes of January 24th, 2022, regular session school board meeting as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the January 24th, 2022 regular session school board meeting as presented. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fisher,
Abstain.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mr. Martell,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mrs. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow,
Yes.
Mr. Stoltz,
Abstain.
12 fail.
Motion carried. Now, for motion to close.
I'll move to approve the minutes of the January 24th, 2022 closed session school board meeting as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the January 24th, 2022 closed session school board meeting as presented. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fisher,
Abstain.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mr. Martell,
Abstain.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mrs. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow.
Yes.
Motion carried. Intergovernmental agreement with Williams Bay.
Do you want to do?
Yeah.
I do.
It's not that much. It's not that much.
Big print in front of me.
We can make it bigger, Mark.
Yeah.
The general other fund bills this evening cover checks number 145266 to 145427, wire transfers 1236 to 1255, ACH check numbers 311 to 373, and two voided checks, number 143776 and 145084, in a combined amount of $736,793.43. There was a memo providing some additional information on several of the board bills in your board package.
Questions, Mr. Chairman?
I would just like to ask on the, let's see, what is it? The youth build stipends, why they differentiate so much?
I'd have to poll it. It's a good question, Paul, but I think it's when they meet certain criteria, for example, I know they have to go through certain training programs and they get credit stipends for completing different sections of that. So depending where the students are or the cohort in the track, that's why the amounts are a little different. But I could share the sheet with you, which would kind of give a little more detail on how those are calculated.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering because I saw the official pays were different, and I understand that's like the varsity versus the JV. But when I saw the differentiations on the stipends for the youth build, I just thought, it's quite substantial. So I was wondering, is it by how much certification they gain, or how much time they're actually on the site, or what that would be?
Those plus, I think they cover different time periods in terms of months.
Yeah, Bill, I can chime in too. This is Chris.
Thunder, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, really good question, Paul. The December 31st, we had two cohorts exiting the program. So they participate on the build for 6 months. Then they're in follow-up for 12 months. So that 18-month commitment, two cohort groups exited on December 31st. So they receive an additional stipend based on completing the follow-up program.
Okay. I just saw the differentiation. I just thought, wow, some are quite a bit less, and I was just wondering. Okay.
Yeah, so you would see a group of kids. So for example, cohort 3 would only be in 6 months of their 12-month follow-up. So they still have another 6 months. So you would see another, like on June 30th, you would see that group with an increased dollar amount in their reimbursement.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was trying to make sense of it, as CCA
Mhm.
Q4, Q2. So I figured it was by
Yeah.
time frames, but it was just like, well, the numbers just don't easily jive for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's just the why behind it. It's just where they're at in the program and where they're finishing up their follow-up. So,
Oh, okay.
yep. And one group got delayed in follow-up, cohort 1, because they decided to start building a house at the beginning of a global pandemic. So we had to delay their experience a little bit.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have a question about the credit card for Sandy Jenkins. Software purchase. Doesn't software usually go through Randy's department? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, most of the software does go through Randy's department. So this might have been something specific that they were looking for the high school.
It was for esports.
Yeah. Was that what it
Was
was?
that on the thing? Okay, I
That
didn't
makes
remember
sense.
when I
Yeah.
read it. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, I just want to know.
Yeah, a lot of times Randy will order it for them, but we'll charge the appropriate budget. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wondering.
Other questions?
I move to approve the general and other fund bills of February 14th, 2022. Check numbers 145266 to 145427. Wire numbers 1236 to 1255. ACH check numbers 311 to 373 and voided check numbers 143776 and 145084 in the combined amount of $736,793.43 as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the general and other fund bills of February 14th, 2022. Checks number 145266 to 145427. Wire numbers 1236 to 1255. ACH checks numbers 311 to 373 and voided check numbers 143776 and 145084 in the combined amount of $736,793.43. Roll call.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll?
Yes.
Mr. Martell?
Yes.
Donald?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Stoltz?
Yes.
Ms. Bothagel?
Yes.
Now we'll do the.
Yeah, the intergovernmental agreement is really a renewal of existing agreement we have with Williams Bay School District for the option school. So it's just updating the years. That's the only change.
There's nothing else changed then.
Nothing else changed.
Okay. I read through the whole thing. I didn't notice anything.
Yeah.
It stood out.
All right, any questions? All right, the motion to approve.
I move to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Williams Bay School District as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded to approve the intergovernmental agreement with the State School District as presented.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Ingersoll?
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Martell?
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Stoltz?
Yes.
Ms. Bothagel?
Yes.
Motion carried. It's been catching though.
I know, right? Who's awake?
Report discussion items, that was just testing. Report discussion items, student report.
All right. So the past couple of weeks, we have a lot of things going on. Cheers state bound. We also have our Smash team for esports, and they're also state bound. No, they won state.
Yeah.
They won state and they won it.
Yeah.
Really amazing. We had an academic bowl, which is so much fun. And Laura, JT, and Owen all got those chimps in their area, which is really, really cool. And for the juniors, there's a select group of students that have gone to this leadership conference. They went last year and they went in the fall this year, and then they went again this spring. So that's really cool because it's mostly for like athletes and athletes and some leaders that are in the school.
And then we had another powerlifting tournament this weekend, and again, our girls varsity won the meet. And we had 2 other people also qualify for state, bringing our total to 8 people, which is really, really cool. Then we go to the next one. So middle school, they had a Hope Week this week, and they had some dress up days, which are the 4 kids in the front that are all dressed up, which is really, really fun. And Cunis, is it? How
Cunis.
it's called? Yeah, Cunis Builders Club did a few things. They
You're talking about the Kiwanis.
Yeah.
I thought you were trying to say Cunis.
Like they do, so does Kiwanis. Okay, thank you. Yeah. We're a bit all over tonight. The Kiwanis Builders Club had a few things going on in the past couple of weeks. So on the left, they built birdhouses, and they made like a ton of birdhouses, and just like the kids were painting them and stuff like that, which I think is so much fun. And they also had a community meal and movie night. I think it was this week. Yeah, pretty cool, really fun. It involves all the students. And then our next one is options. And I really loved this statement from a kid. They're doing this I Heart School, like from Valentine's Day kind of thing, like what you love about school. And the kid says they love the school because of the nice teachers that they have, and that they only have 3 days of school each week. And I honestly wish that I could say the same. Yeah, but that was definitely a reason to love school. They also had a family open night where you could just come and play in the gym, and they had some games and I kind of want to go use the rock wall. And they also had a family game night, which is on the right, and they had a bunch of kiddos come and play some games and do tricks and stuff like that. Super fun. And then the next one is Jackson. Everywhere pretty much celebrated Hope Week.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
David's nice for it.
Okay, you skip one. Cool. Red Jackson. Okay, fantastic. So there was a mismatch day, and you can see like the Mad Hatter over there, and that was one of the days that they had for Hope Week. They also had this thing called Book Flips, which was where like the students picked up a book and they kind of like they talked about it to like the class, and then one kid out of the class won. And then the teacher chose a kid from book. I think pretty much was it. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then they also had a Snowball Week fundraiser for Hope Now, which was part of the Hope Week. And they also did celebrate their Valentine's Day today, which I missed so much from elementary school. So I figured I'd throw in a little photo. That's so much fun. That was one of the best. Yeah. All right. Then the next one, Tibbets. So these kiddos, they are doing the biomedical unit right now. And some UW Whitewater education students have been coming to help teach them. Like they said, learn each week. So I think they're coming like once a week. And I think that's really cool because I feel like students, learning from the college students is so much fun. And then students also had a family fun night at Jackson. You can see there were a lot of people that showed up. That seems like fun too. So much fun. And then our next school, West Side. So this is Gabe, and he's actually my neighbor across the street. And he's a really amazing kiddo, and he has a heart condition that he's had since birth. But West Side has been fundraising for him for about a month now, and they're about halfway-ish. And if you want to, you can click on the YouTube video, and it like explains the whole thing. And it's a heart challenge, but it's really amazing how much the school is involved. They had like a dress-up week for him. They did some fundraising and stuff like that. And it's really, really cool. So yeah, that's from West Side. And then Career and College Academy. So Down Construction came to the home and showed, like, kind of walked through it, and the kids were able to ask some questions. So this is like one home that Down Construction makes. The kids went there and they would like walk through it, and they kind of showed them some specifics and why they did this and that, and that's really cool. And then the students also went over to Precision Plus, and they toured over there, which I think is awesome. That place is crazy. They do some amazing things. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So, presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director's report. Mr. Rickman.
Frankie Draken, Technology Director, and I was kind of listening and watching your presentations tonight. The the cool things going on in Tibbetts with students and opportunities for middle school and cool things that you got going on all across district. And then we get to wrap up the presentation with anticlimactic cybersecurity.
The name is perfect.
So, I know we've probably all seen our news articles and, postings of cybersecurity and hacks and breaches, from government pipelines to schools and businesses and Facebook and Target and things like that. And we thought it would be a good idea to just give you an overview of what we're doing, what approach we're doing, what we're putting in place, kind of the roadmap that we have to try to keep all the students and everybody safe, that they can continue to do all these cool things. There's one comment that when I started many years ago, one of the consultants that was working here made to me that really sort of stuck with me, which it kind of makes me realize that education is really, really unique as far as technology and things like that. In private industry where I came from, for the most part, everybody's on the same page as they just want to keep everything running and get into a job and keep it going. He told me in schools, it can be a little more challenging because there's a few students that might want to do whatever they can to shut your system down and see how far they can get. So there's a unique challenge within schools to keep things safe, but yet not lock things down so tight that it's unuseful. There's a balance between, too tight and not usable. So cybersecurity, there's a wide range of things from viruses, malware, hacking, getting into areas that they can't, like even in students within or staff, they have certain restrictions or access that they get to. So trying to keep things under control, keeping data for the parents and families and students and staff, keep it safe and secure. So, good security policies like onions, a lot of different layers. There's not a single silver bullet that will cover everything. It used to be you could put a nice antivirus program on your computer, Symantec and Norton, and you'd be fairly safe, but that's not really the case anymore. So we are looking at more of a layered approach, and we are breaking it down basically on 3 levels for the most part. More of a network level, which is internet access, firewalls, and kind of the first layer of protection. Protecting our servers, where all the data is, accounts, user accounts, policies, things like that. And then end users accounts and end user devices, computers, Chromebooks, iPads, things like that. Some of the things some of the approaches that we've taken are things that we put in place just on a basic surface level onto the servers, for example. There's always remote ways, remote access into servers. So just to eliminate that potential, it's kind of the little things that you can do. So we disabled all remote access for all the servers. We do have another way we can get into, but it's more of a one portal type of thing to get into it. So instead of having direct access to the servers, we eliminated those, except for maybe 2 key servers that we need remote access with. And then we changed the connection type to get to that server. So it's not default. So if there was a potential breach or intrusion, even if they were going to try to access the servers remotely the normal standard way, they wouldn't be able to because we altered the connection path within that server. End user protection, phishing program, you guys are probably aware of that. We've been having a phishing campaign for I think 4 or 5 years now. So you probably have seen those come through. So that's really the key thing. When any of the conferences and seminars that you go to on cybersecurity or security in general, high 90% of the time the issues and situations came from an email or a click or a download or something that someone did that allowed that access to come in. So that's really important to keep that in front of the staff. So they're always thinking twice before they click on things. One of the aides down in Jackson harasses me every time I go down there. She apparently clicked on a Pizza Hut coupon once and ended up having to do some fishing training, so she harasses me about that. So
One year, Randy sent out, I think it was a UPS notification on a delivery right before Christmas.
yeah, which is interesting because for the most part, our normal campaign, we're pretty good. We're about 1.5 to 2.5% click rates, which is by industry standards is pretty low. But if you target something like that, I remember I think maybe last year I did a targeted phishing email for W-2s right in January.
And I'm like, what is this? We got our W-2.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I forgot to notify HR department about it. We learned from our mistakes, so that won't happen again. But our click rate went up to like 35%.
Yeah.
So it's, if people are not in that humor with the Christmas time or holidays, and they're just fast and furious things, you kind of lose your common sense, but you just lose your guard is down.
Well, I will open up my personal email, my business email, my other business email, and I'll have like 5 tabs open, and I'll forget which one I'm in, and it'll say like here, your Amazon package. And I'll go, wait, which one am I looking at?
Right.
It's like, well, they don't know if it's a weird notification that it's here. And it's like, no.
Yeah, and sometimes you're not. You're just looking, reading. You're not really thinking.
Right.
Wait a minute, Amazon doesn't have my school or my work. Why don't they go to that thing? Why are they sending me? So it's just trying to keep that in front of people, which is the biggest thing that we can do. The limited email.
Yeah.
That limited email account one is something we just started this year, which we have, it seems like subs and, we have a whole bunch of email accounts that we have to create, but they really don't use them that often. And they really don't need access to email outside other than within our district. So we put some restrictions on some of these categories or these roles, so they can only email and receive email within our district, which will really limit that potential one little plug hole in there. Two-factor authentication, you're probably familiar with that with your banks and Facebook and things like that. That's one thing that's, from what I'm hearing from other districts, a lot of insurance companies, that's kind of like bare minimum that they're requiring you to get renewed. So we're rolling that out. We did that last year with my tech department. We kind of were piloting and testing it out. We rolled it out for the admin team earlier this year, and a couple weeks ago we did we did options staff, last week elementary, this week middle school. So we're slowly rolling out. Hopefully in another week or two we'll have district-wide. The Google account is two-factor authenticated, which links to a lot of other systems, and account Skyward is also linked to Google. Right now I have it set for both options, but once we get two-factor all set, we'll probably remove the other username and password, so then Skyward will be truly two-factor authenticated. So just real quick here, network monitorings. One of the systems we have in place, we get notifications on if there's new users that have been added as an administrator. So my team will get a notification if the new account's been created. Obviously we will be aware of that, and if a new account as an administrator is created, we're going to it's going to be red flags. We'll be checking that right away. We get notices if there's any systems, computers, servers that haven't been updated, Windows updates, critical patches, things like that. We also get noticed if there's any high-risk detection, high-risk security issues detected on the servers. The system that we have monitoring kind of that network layer as far as ports and all the communications that happens on the internet. It sends us information on policy changes, so the systems are set to assign permissions and access to different users and computers. So if any of those access levels change or are modified or added or deleted, we'll get a notice of that. So that really helps keep tabs on what's going on and what's happening, and if there's any changes that we didn't do. On the server level, this is a new program we just installed this year, kind of testing it out this year. This one is really targeted more for ransomware, which is the high profile and kind of in the news, the high dollar amounts. Any of the attacks can really be high dollar amount, but this is more of a ransom, pay this or you don't get your stuff back. So this system is kind of cool, where it monitors all our servers with all our files and all the Google files also. So if there's any files that are created, deleted, or modified, file names changed, it's monitoring all those changes. So if it sees a lot of files changed at once, or files deleted or extensions changed, and it has a lot of automatic intelligence built into it, so it'll shut down like almost instantly. I saw some demos on it. So when a ransomware attack was launched, there was only maybe 2 or 3 files that got affected, and the system then shuts the computer down, disables that computer on the network, so even if it's turned back on, you couldn't log into that computer with a valid account. And the user that was logged into the system on that computer at the time this happened, that user account gets disabled also, so they can't log into the network anyhow. Most likely, if it was a breach of some sort, somebody hijacked that account and was using that staff or student's account. So this one it's kind of cool. It's interesting to see how it works, and it kind of sits on your network and learns the normal activity. And the longer you have it, it gets more accurate on information that you can find. So that's kind of cool. Again, I don't think there's a silver bullet for anything, but as far as ransomware wise, this seems like it's pretty close to a silver bullet. Again, I don't lay all my eggs in one basket, but one of the other end user, I mentioned the phishing. So we'll do the phishing campaign and get the reports on the top 5 users that clicked, and then we follow up with a little short 1, 2, 3 minute phishing video, 10 question quiz kind of thing. So we get some nice reports on that. Fortunately, I haven't really seen a pattern where it's a single user every month that's on the report, which is good. So that's encouraging. Last month, though, there was it's on here. You have this option right down here, submitted data. Last month there was, so the way these phishing the emails work, if you click on a link, it takes you somewhere else, and then it asks you to enter some information, and then you submit it. So normally we'll have 4 to 5 people that click on a link. Last month there was, actually it might have been December, so it was maybe more around the Christmas time. It was, I think we had like 6 people that actually submitted data. So that gets a little more concerning when they're actually getting to that point and they submit something. Yeah. So I followed up with some training and conversation with them. So, but then the next month was back on 0. So again, it was at, I think it was at December, people a little bit out of the normal routine things. So this is another new program that we just installed this year. This is more along the lines of your Norton's or Semantic. It's installed on it's on the computer. But technology-wise, they've come a long way from the old programs where it relies on definition or an update to know what programs to look for, what's a bad file or extension that's loaded on the computer. This program will monitor the normal activity of your computer, what programs they normally use. Really, again, longer it's on there, the more it learns. It's all artificial intelligence as far as learning and understanding how the user types and misspells words, and it kind of learns that normal characteristic of the normal usage. And then if it notices something a little out of the ordinary later on, then it kind of raises some flags and alerts and maybe quarantines some files or things like that. So this one's pretty good too. So this one, theoretically, if there was gonna be some ransomware that was loaded on a computer, this would see some files changed, it goes beyond file name, it gets, really detailed with metadata and stuff like that on the files, but it really digs deep into the files and the file systems of the computer and stops it and quarantines it before it can cause any damage. It's another one of the reports that we get from these programs. It shows us alerts, high, medium, low, and last week versus this week. So a lot of metrics that come out. We can kind of get an overview of where things are, what's happening. I think I want to also mention on here that program also it scans for personally identifiable information on everybody's computer. So if there's medical documents, social security numbers, driver's license, credit card information, it'll scan or monitor those programs and send us a list of people that have, computer names that have those information, which it shouldn't be keeping that stuff on the computers. So, and they probably don't want it there too. A lot of times it's just, you download something from the internet or fill out forms and you don't even realize where it went to or where it's saved at. So, but again, it's all focused. The goal is to try to keep our students and families' information and staff information safe. There's heard from a few staff as we started, over the years doing these services and things that have had their identity stolen, and it's a nightmare trying to recover from that. So it's really not. The purpose is to help everybody, not just protect the school, but it's protecting themselves also and their families at home. One of the things that we're looking at, this is a tool that's available that's assessment that we did, has all these different categories that it looks for or asks the questions on. And we went through it and our score came up to 319, falls in the looking good category. So I was feeling, glad it was done in this area. 6 points away from the we can all sleep at night category, so I'm close. But really the biggest area is the business connectivity and vendor management categories. We have a lot of information and documents. We just need to pull them all together and have kind of a one plan, working with business departments and people services to work together on all these areas and who do we contact, what's the process. And the vendor management is an interesting one. We do a lot of work with NWAA and Compass Learning, and we're Wise Dash Local, and we're sending a lot of data to all these companies. And what are they doing with it? Do we have anything in their contracts to say they're keeping it safe, or what are they going to do if they have a breach? Do they notify us? Some of those questions that we need to ask. So we need to put together some documentation and have everybody on the same page. Those two areas really, as I went through it, we pretty much scored 0 in there, which it's good to know where we're at and what we can do. It's fun with that score. So the other thing, one of the conferences we were at recently, this Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Frater, they offer services to, it's actually a free assessment for, I don't know if it's just schools or, businesses in general, but they'll come in, they'll bring people on site, they'll do an assessment, they'll run scans and look at documentation. It's a very, very thorough assessment that they'll do. So I know I was talking to the director at Ford. He contacted them and he said he was surprised it wasn't a huge long wait. He's scheduled for March, I believe. He said they're coming in to do his. So I was looking to put a couple things in place and then maybe schedule this for the summer sometime, have them come in and do an assessment and give us an outside view of where we're at and what we can do to kind of plug things in. So it's kind of an your high level overview of where we're at. I don't know if you have any questions, but I thought it would be just good to just kind of give you a quick little summary of, the direction and the roadmap and kind of things that we're trying to work on.
So when you find the identifiable information, do you talk to those individuals and it's all through the security?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, a lot of the ones that we came up with were medical forms that were downloaded, so it wasn't really plain forms basically, templates.
Okay.
Class forms that we found on some people's computers, not that we found, but just were notified, we don't see the information, we just said, hey, you might want to double check this, we tell them where it's located, so you might want to remove that, get rid of that document.
Okay, so you do follow up with
Yeah.
them.
When you're sending out the phishing emails, is that to the staff?
Yeah.
Have you ever done it to the students?
Well, we haven't, and pros and cons with that. The con is that it's licensed by how many people you send it to.
Okay.
So we're licensed for, like for our staff, like right now it's 500, 550 or so. So if we open that up, and that's always the topic that comes up when we go to these conferences, when you're dealing with 3,000, 3,500 students, you deal with that, So we do have the K-5 students in this limited email group where they can't, email in and out of district. I was gonna chat with the principals and the teachers in Lynn Middle School. I don't know how they email out. Do they really need to do that? Could we tighten that up a little bit too? High schoolers, that probably wouldn't work as well, but what can we do to try and limit that? Because that is a big area of our network that's potential. Their access is more limited in general. So if their accounts were breached or you'd like to think not as much damage would be done, but some of these programs will come in, get in through a student account, and they'll just sit on the network for a while and watch and see what's happening. Where's your back? What's going on? And where's your vulnerabilities? And then work their way up the level and eventually get up.
It would be a great life lesson for the students as well, especially at the high school level.
Yeah.
I know we have a cybersecurity class, but our numbers have always been pretty low in that.
Yeah.
That would be interesting to
Yeah,
have that kind of be a surprise
Right.
email. I mean, not every student is going to fucking read the email. I've learned that from my own children.
Yeah.
But for the ones that do, I mean, it would be interesting to see what the students' reaction would be, because kind of in that, I mean, it's just different than what we all.
Well, and it's the phishing and spamming has gone beyond email too, so I get a lot of my texts now too.
Right.
So you take that email understanding and apply it to your Facebook posts and right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think one of the challenges that Randy has in his position is trying to balance, from a access system, a lockdown system to a wide open system.
Right.
In education, we tend to want it open, right, for a whole bunch of reasons, access different software. So there's a balance to that. Randy and I talk a lot about risk management. We probably, if we could make a final, we could say, let's lock it down. But that's not realistic. So I think the software pieces that Randy described is kind of the mechanism to kind of be both worlds to a certain extent. So, and then we're finding now with the insurance companies, they're asking a lot of questions now. What we're doing, I'm sure you're seeing that in businesses as well. And we do our renewal now, and our renewals may be 8 pages, and 6 of them now is all based on cybersecurity. So we have to meet with Randy because half the questions they're even asking, like, I have no idea what they're asking. So we sit down and go through it.
A lot of it is on backups. We have redundant backups. We have some backups in the cloud. We have backups off-site, and but the problem is, and that's what these people do. They sit on your network. They could sit on your network for a year. So then, at that point, you rotated all through your backups. Now, your backups are compromised. So it's a balancing act. And then, of course, it all comes down. There's the money involved. So how much do you spend on that? How much overlap do you create? Because these 3 layers, there's overlap. It's insurance necessary. Is it necessary? And until you need it, then you should have done more. So
We do have a cyber policy.
oh yeah.
How long have we had that?
We've had it for probably 4 or 5 years now. Yeah, it's kind of part of our liability. We have like a $5 million liability, but then we have an extra $1 million cyber liability policy as well. And different insurance companies are requiring certain things, and ours haven't, like, said, you gotta do X, Y, Z, but I know Randy's seen that with his colleagues and other insurance companies are making certain requirements.
Yeah, there's a lot of requirements. I was at a meeting last week, and a lot of directors in surrounding schools and their insurance companies had a lot of, I won't say crazy, but just a lot of requirements before they even get renewed. So we're trying to stay one step ahead of it, and I think based on what they're saying, I think we're in pretty good shape. Maybe a few things we have to add to it, but we're working on those, so.
For that became, because it wasn't real common, we used to say like 5 years ago, nobody had, or take it for me, our insurance company started saying, hey, you might want to start. So it was kind of abstract at the time, really. Now it's become
Necessity.
necessity for every business. Yeah. I don't know. It's operating.
Yeah. The insurance company also offers support. I think if there is an incident, that they have a team that will come out and support and do the forensics, and the state and through, they actually have a group that you can call. So there's resources available that will bring forensics teams in, because we're not experts in anything. We do a little bit of everything to keep things running, but we're not forensic experts on cybersecurity. So we have to rely on some additional support.
Insurance companies have to negotiate
Right.
for negotiating risk.
Yeah, well, that's one thing they mentioned too, is like upfront, we need to decide if it happens, are we gonna pay or are we not gonna pay? You need to have that decided upfront before you're in the heat of the moment. That's one of those questions that, is here for getting our score here. So.
Very well, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
January enrollment.
Got a copy of the January enrollment report. As you know, we do 2 counts a year, once in September, one in January. Typically, the January doesn't vary a lot. I think overall, in terms of head count, we were up like 21 students. And I think we had 25 additional open enrollment and 4 less resident students. We added up to 21. But we've had students moving between buildings. So if you program, so if you look at like the Career and College Academy, that went up quite a bit. Options went up a little bit. Some of that is between the buildings.
I was gonna ask, because there was quite a bit of a drop in middle school and high school. And
Yes.
with most of that movement to options and
Some of it, I guess, I haven't looked at the detail, to be honest with you, in terms of how much of that, but at least half of it probably reflects that kind of change. Yeah. So,
And so what do these numbers, other than us tracking them, what do they do?
yeah, we use the September count is really the critical count because that determines our revenue cap.
Right.
Then the September and January, the average of those is used for our state aid calculation. So it's important. Both numbers are important. Plus, I think it's good for us as a district just to have a sense of how they change it really and for planning purposes as well.
Questions? Recommendations of the district administrator, personnel.
Personnel, we've got 2 retirements, Kathy Gokowski and Darcy Gruber for retirement. Catherine has 14 years here in the school district and Darcy has 30 years in the school district. Thank them for their years of service. And then we have 4 resignations, Amanda Matsky, Robin McCabe, Haley Morganson, and Tyler Ellsworth. Amanda and Robin were special ed aides, and Haley and Taylor were athletic coaches. And then there's 3 appointments, Rebecca Fleck, Tracy Lockwood, and Jesse, who I'm going to ask Mr. Bonagowski.
Yeah, that's good.
So as a new tech support position, so those are the personnel recs.
Questions for Mr. Trim?
I'll move to approve the personnel recommendation sheet for February 14th, 2022, including no employment contracts, conditioned upon passing the background check and district mandated drug screening as presented.
Is there a second? Second. So moved and seconded to approve the personal recommendation sheet for February 14th, 2022, including employment contracts, conditions on passing background check and district mandated drug screening as presented.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mr. Martell.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Mrs. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow,
Yes.
Ms. Stoltz,
Yes.
Bagel.
Yes.
Motion carried. School gifts.
I believe we have 2 school gifts. Let's see, one is from Karen Blum Fitness, donated exercise balls, ropes, and fitness sandbag valued at $250 to the district. And the second one is from the First Congregational United Church of Christ, is donating $300 to the Resilience Coalition.
Looking for a motion.
And then accept the generous school gifts as presented.
Is there a second? Second. So moved and seconded to approve to accept the generous school gifts of Karen Blum Fitness and the First Congressional United Church of Christ as presented. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mr. Martell,
Yes.
Donald,
Yes.
Mrs. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. Scarrow,
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, that's just about anything.
Yeah.
Ms. Stoltz,
Yes.
Ms. Bagel.
Yes.
Motion carried. Announcements.
Couple announcements, looking at setting up maybe a personnel committee meeting on the 7th of March at noon, if that works for Barb, Paul, and Julia.
Yeah,
It's okay for me.
that's fine for me.
Yep. Looks good. Yep.
And then, our March, we're just looking ahead at the calendar, March 28th is during spring break. I'm just curious if we are gonna have a quorum of the board here during spring break.
I'll be here. I'll be here.
We're not allowed to leave the county, so.
Okay. Sounds like we're well.
Did you do?
Okay. Answers that, I know Mr. Padlock's planning on being here, I think I'm planning on being here, so. And then possibility of looking at maybe rescheduling the budget retreat, which currently we have on the 19th.
I saw
I
that
have
on
them
this
as well.
I haven't
12.
noticed it all too.
I know it's 12.
Yeah.
I sent an email to Jason asking that.
Yeah, I know. I was like, it's
I
on
figured
my
we talked
calendar
about
is
it
the
tonight,
12th.
so.
All right,
It doesn't, what, you just tell us what day and I'll put it.
the 12th does not work for Mr. Scarrow,
Nor the 19th, so that's.
nor the 19th.
So I want
Okay.
to do 26th. Possible.
So the 26th would be later in the month. If that works for the school board members.
Okay for me.
Yeah, we're gonna be here on the 28th.
Paul, does that work for you?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't have anything on the plans, but I don't have a calendar in front of me, but I don't see anything happening, so I'll be here, most likely.
You've got a work conflict that day on the 12th, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So if that works for everyone, is,
26th, perfect.
if we move it to the 26th, is that okay?
Keep it morning,
Yeah, we'll do the same time frame.
8:30 to 11:30.
Yeah,
As long as we're doing these meetings, the February 21st, which is next Monday. I have policy committee, but she mentioned that she wouldn't be able to make it, so.
We could do, have Jody do it to go on that one.
to reschedule.
To reschedule.
Okay, yeah, that's
Otherwise,
fine.
yeah, I'll just do it remotely.
You said that you might be going through the overpass, you won't be able
Well,
to.
yeah, I'll be in the mountains, but
Yeah.
I'll make sure I do all the edits, documents.
Okay,
I don't want you guys to have to.
Well, it doesn't matter to me. I have to work it around my schedule. So.
Okay.
Mention that to Jody.
Why don't I reach out to Jody and see who's on the agenda?
Okay.
That work?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I think that was all for announcements.
Guess we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Got places to go. I like it.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yeah.
Mr. Martell,
Yes.
O'Donnell, Mrs. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow,
Yes.
Ms. Schultz,
Yes.
Ms. Colfago.
Yes.